Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to today's bonus. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. The merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's bonus, shall we? Today's first part of the upload is a subscriber submission. Hello, Jeff. Thank you for reaching out. While I'm not sure this is worthy of your show, here goes. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was driving from Crogville to London on Highway O, just outside of Deerfield, when I got the oddest, absolute cold feeling of being watched. Now, the corn is 6 feet tall right now, so seeing into the fields is iffy. But I had slowed down, and the feeling got more intense. Slowed from 55 to 35 to make a corner at the bridge over the creek. I had my windows down because it was 4 p.m. or so in the afternoon. I yelled out the window, "Show yourself, or leave me the F alone. I'm not putting up with this BS." It was like it was instinct to do so, and it went away. I thought nothing more of it. So jump forward about a week or 10 days ago. I'm coming home around midnight from Columbus, which is north of Deerfield on Highway 73. I'm tooling along and get set for 4 90-degree corners and get the odd feeling again. My windows are down again, but this time I feel the need to roll them up. So I'm bitching about the odd feeling to myself when I saw something pretty good size dart across the road from the field to field, just outside of my headlights. I know it was not a deer, bear, cow, deer, etc., easily determined by size, speed, and animal's gait. But I have no idea what it could have been. Anyway, the eerie feeling stuck around for about 5 minutes until I rounded the next corner. I stopped in Marshall, the town in between, and got a drink. Asked the bartenders if anyone's reported seeing anything bigger than a dog but smaller than a cow and dark-colored running around. One jokingly asked if it was on 2 legs, to which I replied no, it was on all 4. If it was on 2 legs, I could have figured out what it was, and would have been doing shots. The guy got weirdly quiet, though, after my answer. I decided it was time to leave as my hands were still shaking a bit, but I wanted to get home. So that's about it as far. Like I said, it's too close to my home for my liking. I don't want encounters with these damn things any more than I want another one with Bigfoot. Had 3 of them and I'm done with hunting like I used to. Walking in and out of the woods well before or after daylight. Any info on how to dissuade or direct their attention elsewhere, should I be becoming interesting to them, would be greatly appreciated. Also, this is about 15 to 20 minutes away from Jefferson. Bray Road Beast. Well, my friend, I definitely am going to send you an email because I'm interested in your Bigfoot encounters. I'd like to possibly narrate them on this channel, or have you on the show.
as of redirecting their attention, I don't think they are honed in on you. I think what it is it's fall time, and maybe you being right place, wrong time. Yeah, it is an eerie coincidence that you had two basic eerie feelings and possibly a sighting within 10 days of each other. But like you said, you're done with hunting, you're done in being out in the woods. So I really honestly don't think they are directed at you. I think what it is it's just you guys passing each other as life goes on. I'm sure in the comment section some subscribers may have some input as well. But if you're hearing this, check your email, because I am going to be sending you an invitation for either me narrating your Bigfoot encounters or having you on. Thanks for sharing. Today's second terrifying encounter. Hello everybody, my name is Brian and I'm somewhat of an adrenaline junkie. What I do to get this fix of adrenaline is I would go out in search of nothing in particular and just hope something happens. Sometimes I get more than I wanted. This is one of those stories, with the exception that I wasn't seeking adrenaline this time. Be warned that some events in this story may be disturbing for the faint of heart. This is your warning. Continue at your own risk. The date is October 14th, 2010. I used to live on a decently sized property in the mountains of northwestern Georgia. I loved it up there. So many places to wander off to and so many places to have a little hideout. It was the day before my uncle's birthday, and me and him wanted to go out to our favorite hangout spot, which we called the Broccoli Tree. In a nutshell, it was an uprooted tree with a big enough hole to fit a couple of chairs and some other things where the roots had been. We did some modifications and put a tarp over it so we could stay in it if there was rain. So my uncle and myself are walking out to the tree, which is a good 15-minute walk from the front porch of my house. As soon as we break into the tree line, we start messing around and pushing each other playfully, without a care in the world. My uncle and I had walked to the tree so many times we could find it in the pitch black, so we weren't really that afraid. I sort of had this feeling that we were being watched, but I just shrugged it off a little and kept walking. Skip forward a little bit to the arrival at the tree. Nothing seemed out of place, so we went inside and sat down. We started talking about specific things and what he had seen out hunting and things like that. Then he mentioned skinwalkers. Confused, I asked him what it was, and he broke it down so I could understand. He said that they were half man, half beast, that they could shapeshift. I laughed at this and asked him if he had been playing too much Diablo recently, not thinking he was serious. He looked at me in the eyes with a dead serious look on his face and said he saw one while he was hunting. My excitement immediately turned to fear as I remembered that I felt something watching us on the way to the tree. I told him I had a feeling we were being watched, and he said he had that too. We started listening closely to see if we could hear anything outside the tree, but everything was silent. We both looked at each other and decided we had to leave. We emerged from the tree, and he tells me to jump onto his back so he could run. So I do, and at that moment I was on his back, and he had a tight grip. We heard something from behind us. I go to turn around and look to see what it was, but my uncle told me not to. Then he started running to the house in almost pitch-black darkness with something chasing after us. I could hear its footfalls behind us and heavy breathing as it got louder, as if it was getting closer. I scream faster at my uncle, and he starts dead-ass sprinting through the woods. Then the front porch light comes into view through the trees, and I say, there it is. Then my uncle trips over himself, and we both catch air. I was flung a little higher, so I landed closer to the house than he did. I looked back at him, and he screamed to me to run and not worry about him. I didn't listen. I ran over to help him when something hit me square in the chest and knocked me back. Don't look, my uncle screams. I wish I had listened. I look up and see this man with a dog-like head and glowing solid white eyes. My uncle tries to scurry away from it, but it grabs him and picks him up to his feet and stares into his eyes. Then came a gunshot. The beast tossed my uncle into a tree and scurried away frightened. That's when my other uncle comes up from behind me and helps my uncle off the ground. I slowly stand up and wipe myself off and asked what the heck that thing was. The uncle that was with me says one word, Skinwalker. Then all three of us go back up to the house. A couple days later, the uncle that was with me was deployed overseas to Korea for the army. We tried to forget about what we had seen and get it out of our minds. One night I woke up about 4 a.m. because I had a dream of it. I rubbed my eyes and let them adjust to the low levels of light to see two glowing eyes again right outside of my window. I grabbed the flashlight I had in my room for late-night bathroom runs and shined it at the window. Within a few seconds, that Skinwalker thing ran away, and I have yet to see it again. To this day, both of my uncles have not spoken a word about it and refuse to speak about it. So, cut now. After he sees these eyes in his window, he and his friend decide they are going to go out to the tree that they call Broccoli Tree and document what they saw. Here is their documentation. 12:32 a.m. We just made it to the Broccoli Tree, which is the tree me and my uncle hung out in all the time before he joined the army. I'm not surprised that everything else except the tarp is almost completely gone from rotten bugs. I'll just put everything out that's rotted and toss it aside. I did bring a sleeping bag with me, so me and my friend Luke can use it to sit on. I'm going to go ahead and take a little nap. I'll update when I wake up. Should be in about an hour. 1:10 a.m. A little before the hour, Luke just woke me up to some noises nearby. Could just be a deer or maybe some other animal. I'm not really sure. Okay, it stopped moving. I think it's on the other side of the tree where the trunk is. That's definitely not an animal. We just heard this thing, whatever it is, growled, a very low growl, almost like it's in pain. It's been about 2 minutes. This thing is still on the other side of the tree. No, it just took off into the woods. It sounded like it was on 2 feet. I don't know what the hell this was. It definitely was not a human or any known animal. The thing sounded massive. I'm going to take a peek outside of the tarp. It seems to have gone. I'm going to step out and start exploring. We'll update soon. 2:30 a.m. Okay, we just made it back to the tree. There are definitely more than one of these things because we can hear them communicating back and forth from hilltop to hilltop. There seems to be 2, maybe 3. Still haven't laid eyes on them yet. Luke is going to try to take his nap while I have watch. What is it about these woods? Just the energy around them. I mean, hell, I've had 2 different experiences up here. One of them was a Bigfoot. I just don't understand why, yet at that same time, I don't know what I'm trying to understand. It seems like something isn't right about these woods. How can 2 completely different legends that many believe to be nothing more than a hoax exist in the same woods? Could it have been a skinwalker all along whose shape shifted into a Bigfoot? Or is there a skinwalker and a Bigfoot up here? These are things I need to know. I have to know the truth. 3:30 a.m. So my friend Luke just kind of woke up from his little nap. I don't know if we ever really were sleeping. It kind of seems fitting that he kind of woke up at 3 a.m., devil's hour. Maybe something will happen, and I pray it doesn't cause us harm. This is when his friend Luke cuts in. It's all really creepy up here. It's definitely not a joke. It feels like I'm playing a real-life version of Dead by Daylight. It's got me on my edge. I would say I'm a little scared, but at the same time, I believe Brian. I know he didn't mention having any guns with us. I guess it's just one of those minor details that some people sometimes skip over. We've heard a lot of noises up here, some of which we can't explain right off the bat, and others we had to listen to for a little bit to figure out what it was. And then we have those ones we totally can't explain. We've heard almost like a howl, but it was much lower tone with much more bass. It could be what we are up here looking for. It's all quiet right now, but that could change any moment. I can feel that something's about to happen. 3:45 a.m. Something's outside of the tarp right now. I don't know what it is. It's on 2 feet. It has red eyes. It looks like it's going away now. I think we are going to wait, and then we are getting the hell out of here. 4:25. We got back to my house. My friend Luke left. What a crazy night that was. I know some people will say it's fake, but this was 100% true. I'm cutting in here on this one. I don't know why he keeps referring to this thing as a skinwalker. He's in Georgia. There's numerous accounts of Dogman and Bigfoot in Georgia. He's definitely not playing with a skinwalker. There's been any mention of shape-shifting. This previous encounter that he had with his uncle was 10 years ago. He woke up and then saw that thing looking in his window, went out into the woods with his friend just recently. Now we lead up to August 9th. I recently started dating this girl I met online. She and I instantly clicked. We found out both of us believed in things like skinwalkers and Bigfoots, so eventually we got comfortable enough to meet in person. She suggested I come out to her property in Alabama and walk around in the woods. Me being me, I instantly agreed. She lives on the very outskirts of a city called Grant, Alabama, right near the Cathedral Caverns. So her property was located on the same mountain as the Cathedral Caverns. She had about 4-acre property up there, so we explored it. So we head out at about 1 or 2 in the morning with our flashlights and knives in hand. We're out there for about 30 minutes or so when it started to rain a little bit. So we turned around and headed back to her house. On the way back, she keeps looking behind us. I notice this and ask her if she thinks we're being followed. She says yes, and I reply that I started feeling that way. Let's just get back to your house. About 20 minutes go by, and we are back in the clearing of her yard. I take about 15 steps into the clearing and just freeze on the spot and turn around. Right on the edge of the tree line, yet less than 40 feet away, I see this animal skull hovering about 8.5 feet off the ground with solid glowing white eyes. If I had to guess, it looked like a bull skull. She turns and sees me standing there, staring at this 8.5 foot tall being, and runs over and grabs my arm and pulls me up onto the porch. When we got to the porch, the thing was gone. A couple of hours go by and I'm out in my car vaping by myself. She had already gone to sleep and I was still trying to comprehend what I had just saw. It was at that moment I felt something push against the rear of my car. Not like hit it, but like how a cat will push up against somebody. I look through my driver's side rear view and I see the same animal skull sticking out from behind my car. I did my best to stay as quiet as I could, as not to alarm it of my presence. Then somehow it locked eyes with me through the rearview mirror. And it was like it got hold of my mind and was trying to make me get out of the car and walk into the woods. I got as far as popping the door handle to unlatch the door before I snapped out of it and closed the door and locked it. I closed my eyes and pretended it wasn't there. About 5.5 minutes go by, I opened my eyes and it was gone. I couldn't see it anywhere, so I opened my door and sprinted inside and stayed there until the sun came up. I didn't sleep that night. The sunrise started to roll up over the horizon, and as I walked out to my car to leave, my girlfriend gave me a hug and kiss and told me to be safe. I'm glad I didn't tell her then that the whole time we were standing next to my car with me facing the woods, I could still see it. Standing there staring at me, not moving. To this day, and I know I'll eventually tell her, she has no idea that thing has been watching my every move with extreme attention to detail. Today's first encounter. I have to say that for the most part of my life I've hiked and hunted deer and never encountered anything like a Bigfoot or a Dogman or anything really. I've seen bear, deer, fox, all manner of skittish critters, but never found a sign or a footprint or seen one. Back in '93, I had a good friend of mine visit me. He and I were having a good time catching up, and somehow the subject of Bigfoot came up. I told him I didn't believe in it, and I'd been all over what was supposed to be Bigfoot hotspots, and I ain't seen a damn thing. That it was all a bunch of BS. Then he gets all serious and sullen-like, and I'm looking at him as he tells me of his encounter with a Bigfoot. He said the one he saw was down in Georgia while he was hunting. He was going to position himself in an area where timber had been harvested a year or two before because old logging roads were still open and the weeds had grown high and provided cover and food for them. He located a snag of treetops that had been left behind from the logging operation. He got up in there as it provided him with a good cover spot and afforded him a very clear line of sight down these old logging roads. So now he gets himself all set up. It's about 3 in the afternoon, and he pours himself a cup of coffee and takes out a snack bar. He's going to relax a little bit before he's got to get all stealthy. He said he'd just finished eating his snack bar, and he's about to light up a smoke. That's when he noticed what appeared to be a man come out of the tall weeds, who started looking around at the ground like it was looking for tracks. He also noticed that while it had the correct features for a man, 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, that the head seemed odd. He described it as not having a discernible neck, and the trapezium muscles looked like they went up to where a normal person's ears would be. He sort of thought this was odd, but at this point he was under the impression that it was just another hunter, and he's all bundled up. It is in the mid-30s, after all. So my buddy really doesn't concern himself too much with it. And the guy's just looking about. He doesn't see a sign of a gun. Maybe he's out scouting or doing something. Then he notices that suddenly crossed across the road and gone into the tall weeds. Now they're brown at this late in the season. It's right after Christmas, but they do provide some good cover. Now my buddy's a little concerned because there's what he believes is a human right in the immediate area he's hunting. And take my word for it, nothing will upset a hunter more if someone is messing up his hunt. Now, while this guy isn't right there, he could get hit by a bullet. My buddy isn't in his normal tree stand shooting downward. He's on the ground and shooting level in an area that's been clear-cut. Now, at this point, my buddy's trying to decide if he needs to just relocate or leave or what, because it's going to be time for the deer up in here to head back into the woods, and if he's going to get a good shot at him, he needs to be ready, and he can't see where this damn guy went off to. Then suddenly he hears some kind of commotion coming in from the weeds. He's not sure what it is, but he can hear a quick cry and grunt-like noise. Then he sees at least 20 deer bust out of the brush like mad. He said they were running like the very devil was after them. Of course, all he had in his hand was a cup of coffee, and by the time he threw it down and grabbed his rifle, the deer were gone. Now at this point, my buddy's pissed and he's thinking, if this son of a bitch comes out, I'm gonna have words with him. Anyway, he didn't have to wait too long. All of a sudden he heard something coming out of the woods, and he's watching to see where this guy's gonna come out. Mind you, he still had his rifle up, scanning up and down the road to see where this guy was gonna come from and where the noises came from. Just then, out he pops. Only now the guy's a great deal closer and looks a hell of a lot bigger. Then he realizes that this guy's wearing a fur coat, and damn it all to hell, he's got a deer over his shoulder. Not just a small deer, but a pretty good-sized female. He assumed it was a female because he didn't see a rack on it. Now, when it came out, he was on its left, and the deer was over its left shoulder, so he can't see a face. Anyway, just as he's about to stand up and call to him, the damn thing turned to the left. And when he did, he said he thought he was seeing things. It was no man, and it looked around like it was making sure it was alone. He said he almost messed up his pants because the thing looked right at him and the pile he was in and then back the other way again. Now when it did, he looked through his scope and got a great look at it. It was no ape, but it looked like it had a larger than human feature, a very prominent brow and a flat nose. He said it looked like it was covered in fuzz or very short hair. At least it didn't look like skin. In a flash, he realized he could take it out and only had a couple of seconds to really make up his mind to shoot or not. Now, right or wrong, he opted not to shoot unless it came after him, which it didn't. But right as he sort of relaxed, this thing let out a scream that scared the hell out of him. Now mind you, it's standing only about 50 feet from him, and he's looking at it through a scope, and it just let out this blood-curdling scream. He watched it look up and down the road both ways, then quick as a flash it took off carrying a whole deer like it was nothing. According to him, the deer was apparently dead as it made no movement or effort to get away as it held it. And, in seconds, this creature was gone. Now I know this story sounds made up, but I knew this guy, and when you know someone, I mean you really know them, you know they're not messing around. I could clearly see this wasn't a joking matter, and he was dead serious. He and I had hunted together. He used to teach me tracking and survival techniques. He never recanted on the story, and when I'd go hiking or hunting, I started paying a little more attention to things. And when I did, it was like magic. I started seeing things I'd seen before, but now they seemed to make sense. I believe there is a big old primate-like thing in the woods. I've never found a track or seen one, and I haven't really found anything to point out and say, see, there it is, right there. There's your proof. However, I do get out, and I'm always looking. Now, as for my buddy, God rest his soul, he was killed a few years ago in an unfortunate accident at work. But just that preceding weekend, he and I had spoken on the phone, and I guess we spent about an hour and a half talking. And as it happened, I asked him about the Bigfoot again, and he told me. He'd quit hunting years ago. He didn't say if it was because of seeing the Bigfoot, but I sort of got the impression it was. So I look for it whenever I get a chance to go out and look. I don't want to offend anybody, but I'd like to say that I would like to shoot one and bring it in for a real scientist to verify they are real. Not so much for me, but for my friend who told me that he had seen one. Today's second encounter. Now I know a lot of you guys are going to say, Jeff, you said it was going to be a Bigfoot upload. Well, I just can't get away from Dogman. I love Dogman encounters, so here's a couple from the Bray Road area. In the fall of 1989, a Russell Guest was walking near an area overgrown with weeds and brush when he saw and heard movement in the dense overgrowth. Suddenly, a huge dog-like creature walks out of the brush on its hind legs. The animal was much larger than any dog. It stood about 5 feet tall, had wide shoulders, and was covered with dark fur. Its head was like a large wolf. The menacing figure started walking towards Guest, who turned and ran in the opposite direction. When he glanced back, he saw the animal had dropped down onto all 4 legs and was no longer chasing him. It then took off in the direction of the Bray Road area. Today's third encounter. Another sighting was reported to have also happened near Bray Road in December of 1990. Karen Bowie lived on Bowers Road, which is near Bray. Her 11-year-old daughter, Heather, was walking home with several friends around 4:30 in the afternoon after riding their sleds in the snow near the intersection of Bowers and Loveland. This location is about 1.5 miles southeast of Bray and Hospital Road. Heather and the other girls happened to look into a nearby cornfield and saw what appeared to be a large dog with dark brown fur walking through the snow. They called to the dog to see if it wanted to play, and that's when trouble started. The creature stood up on its hind legs and revealed its overly large size and started walking towards them. Then it dropped back down onto all 4s and began half running and half leaping towards them at a really fast clip. Something told the girls that this was no ordinary dog because it had stood up and looked to be over 6 feet tall. They all took off running towards their house, which was several hundred yards away. Fortunately for the girls, the creature didn't continue its pursuit, as it took off in a different direction. Others, who were shortly told of the incident, tried to say it must have been some other kind of animal, such as a coyote. Yet some thought it was some kind of other unexplainable dog-like creature, such a werewolf. Today's fourth Dogman encounter. In the summer of 2003, 3 girls were hiking in the woods of Rock County, Wisconsin, which adjoins Walworth County to the west. On that day, they were exploring an area where they had heard had been a sighting of the mysterious Dogman. Suddenly, they unexpectedly came upon 3 wolf-like creatures that were drinking from the creek. The creatures were not lapping up the water with their tongues like a dog should do, but they were drinking out of their hands. The creatures spotted the girls and began to come towards them. The girls ran back out of the woods to where they had left their car and sped away. The girls talked at first, but eventually 2 of them wouldn't talk about the encounter for some reason. The third, a girl named Katie Zan, told her story and agreed to submit to a polygraph. A police polygraph expert from the neighboring state administered it, and was concluded she was telling the truth. The whole story had passed.
And there you have it, folks. I do hope you all enjoyed today's bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. And I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real, they are out there and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.